everyone. So in our previous session, we studied about certain topics of arbitration and alternative dispute resolution, and today there are certain chutput topics that are still left, and we are going to cover them. So let's start with today's session. First and foremost, we'll study about Lok Adalat. You must have heard about Lok Adalat, right? In Delhi High Court, I mean mostly in most of the high courts, or say in district courts also, you would see there would be certain premise that is fixed in most of the courts, and there would always be one day of the week or 2 days of a week wherein when the Lok Adalat is actually held. Lok Adalat, right? Lok means log. Log means people, right? So it means People's Adalat, means people's court in a very simple term, right? So what happens in these kind of courts, since there is a lot of pile, right? There's a lot of pressure of cases on the courts. That's why this concept of Lok Adalat has been introduced, wherein certain such cases that can be resolved very easily, or some chota cases, all those cases are directed towards Lok Adalat, wherein the presiding officers are, they can be either some sitting Supreme Court judge or some retired judicial officer, right? So there has to be some judicial officer, whether sitting or retired. It can be anything. Apart from that, there would be other members also. There would be 2 members, out of which one should be lawyer and some other, and other should be some social worker. Means either NGO ke ho, ya fir, they can be any social worker. They should be involved in certain social service. Now, these are the members, the total members of such Lok Adalat. They are the ones who sit, they listen to the matters. Now, what sort of matters do they listen to? They listen to all the matters that are pending in the court, that are pre-litigative in nature, means for those cases on which the litigation has not yet started. Okay, so what do the court do? So court basically says, this kind of matter can be resolved by Lok Adalat, please go there, right? Simple. Suppose there is some very chota sa land issue of say a farmland issue, ठीक है, जहाँ पे say there is certain area of land that is captured by the other person who is not the owner, and there is the entire papers and everything. Why would court want to waste their time in that, right? There are a lot of complex cases that are are still pending in the court, right? So what do? These kind of small cases, they simply refer it to Lok Adalat. So such matter should be pending first, pre-litigative stage, second. Apart from that, what sort of cases can they take, these Lok Adalat? Mostly they would take some civil cases, ठीक है. पहली बात तो criminal cases ज़्यादा नहीं लेते हैं, और लेते भी हैं तो non-compoundable kind of cases, okay. They would not take a lot of criminal case. They are more apprehensive towards it, practically speaking, but mostly they would take civil cases. They would take non-compoundable, means they are also grave in nature. Non-compoundable cases, they are grave in nature, means that cannot be compounded. So there is this concept of compounding in law, okay. So wherein there are certain cases, certain offences, can they be compounded, okay. So these cannot be compounded, they can only be quashed. So they are grave in nature, so such matters are also taken by the Lok Adalat. Now what all are the features of Lok Adalat? Participation, voluntariness, apart from that, neighborliness, transparency, efficiency, lack of animosity. मतलब क्या है इसका? What does it simply mean? मतलब, for people it's easier to approach. For people it's easier to not hate the other person, right? There is not a lot of hatred that is involved here, like in litigation that happens, right? Both the parties with time, they start hating each other because that is what they are going through. So here there's not a lot of hatred that you would see. They both go to they both agree to it voluntarily, both the parties agree to it voluntarily, and apart from that there would be transparency. It's not like it is happening in some char diwar ke andar. Okay, it is happening before people. Everything is transparent in nature, so you can see what the other party is doing, other party can see what you are doing, and they are efficient in nature. Lok Adalat, right? Efficient in nature means it will take lesser time, it will be more efficient in nature, right? So these are mostly the features of Lok Adalat. Now what all laws govern Lok Adalat? First and foremost, whenever we talk about laws, सबसे पहले कहाँ जाना है? सबसे पहले जाना है Constitution. Okay, we have to see whether constitution is talking about it or not, and with regard to Lok Adalat, constitution is talking about it under section 39A. What is it? It is a DPSP. You must have heard about it. Directive principles of state policy, right? So they talk about equal justice, they talk about free legal aid, and for that only NALSA is instituted, okay, National Legal Services Authority. Now what happens here under Article 39A, they say that there should be access of legal services to everyone, and that is why there should be a concept of legal aid. So what does NALSA do? What these authorities do? Now this is at national level, okay. There are state level legal service authority also, like for Delhi it would be DLSA, okay. For other there are other places also wherein you would see in almost every state they have these legal service authority. So what do? These kind of cases, in these kind of authorities, they mostly take the cases of marginalized section of people. Means those people who cannot afford a lawyer, right? Everybody cannot afford a lawyer. Land issue हो गया एक farmer का, उनके पास खाने तक के लिए अभी पैसे नहीं है. They don't have पैसा even to feed themselves. How do you think they are going to fight it in the court for such chunk of land, right? So what do? They can simply go to NALSA. If they are from Delhi, they can go to DLSA, right? Or any other legal service authority. You can inquire in your own state. There would be certain legal service authority, so they can such person can go there to avail free legal services. So these kind of organization, they have a pool of lawyers who work for such marginalized section of people. They take their cases for free, okay. Why? Under which provision? Under Article 39A. Very important, okay, free legal services. Now they take care of the speedy justice. Basically all those providing legal services and legal aid and speedy justice, all of that is there, but most important is about speedy justice, right? सबसे पहले तो justice देना. So first and foremost is getting a justice is important for such people, right? And that too in a particular time frame. If there's a farmer, he has to say harvest say in summer, okay, and if his entire summers just gets into this resolving the matter itself, how will he harvest his own crop, right? So there is a time crunch also for everybody, not just for farmers but for everybody. There is a time frame under which they want to settle the case. Plus everybody don't have that patience and energy to just keep running in the Lok Adalat or in courts, right? And that is why most of the people lose the motivation to go ahead with the case, and mostly they drop it. Especially if you see those people who don't have resources, they would do that, right? So that is why NALSA and these kind of legal services authority, they ensure that first of all justice shall be given, and that too in a timely manner. All right. Now, what are the benefits? Now, when I am talking about free legal aid, right? It's free. So when it's about free, can there be a court fee? No, right? So there would be no court fee. And in case if there's a person who has already paid a fee in court, say the person went for litigation, paid the fee, but again came to Lok Adalat, in that case whatever fee he has paid, that will be refunded if he has paid it already, okay. Now, yes, now there is not strict application of the procedural laws. What all are the procedural laws? It's CPC, it's CRPC, okay. These are the two procedural laws that are followed in India, okay. Most of the people also put evidence law here, but it's not very strictly, we cannot call it procedural law, but there are certain procedural aspects in evidence law also, okay. Now, they are not followed very strictly in Lok Adalat. So whenever there is no rigorous procedural law that is followed, it means that there is not going to be an elongation of a case. ठीक है, वो खिंचता नहीं है case. There would be a time frame within which it can be settled. As simple as that. Okay. Now here, parties are directly talking to judges. Judges are directly talking to parties. So what will happen? It will basically enhance the efficiency, the efficacy of the dispute resolution, right? So that is what happens here. Again, this is one of the benefits. Apart from that, it is binding in nature. I told you in our previous class, right? Whenever there is any judgment that is given by any decision maker, okay, any adjudicator, in that case, if it is not binding in nature, it would not hold a lot of importance. Binding in nature, why would I listen to it? I'll go for entire mediation. Suppose I go for entire mediation, okay? Last mein judgment hua, that is against me. Why will I follow it? Right? I'll simply back off. I'll say, no, I'm not going to follow it. It's not binding in nature. Yeah, you cannot force me to follow it or abide by it, right? So that bindingness is very important, and that is what there in Lok Adalat also. So if Lok Adalat takes any decision, that would be binding in nature. Alright, binding means there would be an execution that can take place. Execution of the orders that has been passed by the presiding officers. Okay. Then comes the concept of ombudsman. Now this is a very interesting topic. Ombudsman means, हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि simply those people who take care of those politicians, those MPs, those MLAs, those public servants who are getting into, say, corruption. Okay, so this is where you would have heard about whistleblowers, right? Whistleblowers यहीं पे आते हैं. You must have heard a lot of times. You must have read in the newspaper that such and such whistleblower got killed, or such and such whistleblower is getting threatened, right? Why? What happens? So there is this body, ombudsman. What is the body in the country? We'll study about it in our next slide. But who is an ombudsman? He would be a person who may be appointed by some legislature or some organization or some executive body. Simply they are appointed. Now they receive certain complaints. Okay, such complaint can be from some anonymous person also. If it comes from such person who is already in the organization, and if he has certain information about it, best. Right? So they would be whistleblowers who basically come up with the information and evidences that they have and all of that. Now they put a complaint. Simply ombudsman will investigate into the matter, and on the basis of that they will try to resolve the matter. Okay, it can be through mediation or through recommendation. Either they can recommend a certain dispute resolution, or they can refer it to mediation also. What is the advantage here? That whatever complaint comes here, it comes from outside the offending state institution. Means if ombudsman is in Delhi, if a matter is coming from Mumbai, I can take it, and when I can take it, there would be lesser possibility of some person influencing my decision, right? That person is sitting in Mumbai, I am sitting in Delhi, right? In that case, I cannot be influenced by that person. It's not like I cannot, but there is say a lesser possibility of influencing me, right? So it's mostly about that. Now, who are the officers that we have? Chief Vigilance Officer. You must have heard about it again. If you are regular with newspapers or something or news, you would be aware of it. We have Chief Vigilance Officer who take care of all these kind of grievances and complaints that come with regard to the corruption, with regard to the public servants, right? And mostly they take care of banking sector mein, if there is some ghodala that is taking place, insurance sector mein, or any other sector, basically most such sector that impacts the entire country in a way. So these kind of matters are taken by Chief Vigilance Officers. Okay. Yes. पढ़ लिया what is ombudsman. Now तो I understood. Okay, ombudsman is a person who takes up complaints and investigate into the matter. But who are the ombudsmen in our country? It's either Lokpal or Lokayukta. Okay. Lokpal. Lok means log, means people. Pal in Hindi means palna, means to caress a person, right? So Lokpal means caretaker of people. Okay. So Lokpal is the one who is the ombudsman in our country. What law governs this? It's Lokpal and Lokayukta Act. Okay. This is what it's very recent, in 2013 itself. Though it was pending in courts since pending in parliament since a really long time, and politicians were little bit apprehensive of passing it, but finally in 2013 it got the approval and it became a law. Okay, so Lokpal and Lokayukta Act. Now, and there is an inquiry and prosecution wing in Lokpal, so they take care of all the procedure that has to be followed for the inquiry, for the prosecution of some public servant who is found to have got indulged into some corruption. Now for corruption also we have a law, that is Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, very important. Okay, this law basically talks about all the offences that can be committed under with regard to corruption and bribery and all of that. Now if there is a public servant, public officer who has been found to say getting into bribery, okay, that is an offence under this act. If Lokpal gets to know about it, in that case they can either get into the inquiry or the prosecution. So they would be the one who would be taking up the entire case, and same is with Lokayukta also, it's just that they are at state level. Okay, Lokpal is at central level but they are at state level, so they are at center level. Okay, that's pretty much about it. Now what is the intention of this law, Lokpal and Lokayukta Act? हमको चाहिए क्यों ये, है ना? Mostly to keep a check on corruption. Okay, most of the, if you would see PM, public officials, MP, yes, we always get to we always find a lot of complaints with regard to these people getting into corruption in some or other way, right? Either misappropriation of funds or maybe some bribery. Yes, all of that amounts to corruption under this act. Okay, so if they get to find it, that's what they try to combat it, right? Agar kuch aise cases aa rahe hain, we have to prevent it, we have to take certain action so that it can be prevented in future, right? So that's pretty much about it. Okay, now what all other powers? If we look at it, the powers that Lokpal or say Lokayukta they have is mostly equivalent to the superintendent's inquiry and investigative power of CVC. What did we study? What is CVC? Central Vigilance Officer. Sorry, Commission, right? CVO is officer. So there is a commission, Central Vigilance Commission, but that is mostly presided by this Central Vigilance Officer. Now, they have power. They, and mostly police also, they have the power of superintendents, they have the power of inquiry, they have the power to get into the investigation. Same power or a similar power is enjoyed by Lokpal and Lokayukta also. Okay, now getting into the composition, now we know कि ठीक है भाई Lokpal है, लेकिन composition क्या है? Who all are sitting there in Lokpal? How would I know that they are credible enough or not, right? So first and foremost is Chief Justice of India or some Supreme Court judge or some eminent judicial officer or judicial member basically, who should have at least 25 years of experience in such matters. What kind of matters? Either corruption का matter, ठीक है, या फिर कोई public administration का matter, or some finance का matter, or some vigilance का matter. Yes, so they should have at least minimum of 25 years of experience. Okay, it can be any judicial member, Supreme Court judge or Chief Justice of India. It can be either of them. Now, there would be other members also. So total members would be less than 8. It should be less than 8. Plus 50% should be the judicial member. Matlab we have to ensure that judicial members should be a primary part of this particular Lokpal and Lokayukta. Okay, so as to ensure that legality is maintained, right? It should abide by all the laws. So mostly that was pretty much about it. I hope you get into that. If you really want to know more about it, I would suggest you to go through a lot of cases. Okay, go for public servants who are getting arrested. हर महीने कोई ना कोई तो arrest हो ही जाता है. Look for it. See what all officials are getting involved into it. Yes, what sort of procedure, what is happening, what people are saying. People means judicial members and the officials. What are they saying? People don't get into people's debate per se. So yes, that was pretty much about it. I hope this session was helpful to you. Thank you so much and all the best.